All right, something to watch on my morning drive. How you doing, Twiddler? It's nice to see you here this morning. The Twiz in the house. Friends, fans of Magic the Gathering, thanks for tuning in. It's Monday. Yeah, it is. It's Monday. Time to get up and kick the dog and get a cup of coffee and do whatever it is you need to do to get going here this morning. It's Monday, January 8th, and this show is great. Happy to be here, and we're ready to do this. Do you like this show? Is for you, Twiddler. I got just a simple question for you folks tuning in. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Let me do it for you. We're doing it on the morning here on this Monday, January 8th, here with the bro on your drive to work, wherever you've got Brody. You got him on the dash of the car, you got him in your back pocket, maybe you got him sitting next to the coffee pot, wherever you may go. Bring the bro show with you. I got some interesting articles here to share with you folks here this morning. It should be a pretty decent read here this morning, pretty decent show. I'm excited. Woke up this morning, looked up the Magic the Gathering news, and dust did I see some headlines. So, hope you had a good weekend and was relaxing and well, not too cold where you are, but here it's getting pretty nippy out. Just about minus 20. So we got our share of winter here. It's finally come in with the new year and getting a little bit cooler out. There's no getting used to it. The long johns are on, and we're just hunkered down for another couple more months of winter. But without further ado, let's take a look at a interesting article for you folks here today, because this one kind of made my ears perk up when I saw it. But let's read it and see what is what. All right. MTG artist resigns over continuing AI controversy. What? Interesting. So let's get into this article here. We've seen a lot of posts on the internet lately regarding the AI generated artwork, and this article kind of fits the bill for what we've been seeing. I love tracking them. I have no choice with the poll game. My Jaguars lost and eliminated from the payroll playoffs. I'm sad. Sorry to hear that, Twiz. Well, big deal with artists using AI in their art. Yes, and for promoters and people making Magic the Gathering public media using the AI to get a bit of a leg up in the world of Magic the Gathering. So let's have a look here this morning and take a peruse through this article. At the moment, artificial intelligence is one of the touchiest subjects in the world of art. Skills that artists took years to develop can now be replicated by a well-crafted prompt on the click of a button. Recent discovery that AI art giant Mid-Journey is referencing known Magic the Gathering artists adds fuel to the fire, establishing a direct link between existing artists and AI generation. Magic the Gathering and Dungeons and Dragons stands as a pillar of man-made art, especially in the fantasy genre. Magic players are treated to some of the most beautiful pieces of artwork in the entire world, all to bring their cards to life. Dungeons and Dragons is much the same, breathing the color to the imaginative minds of players who are undertaking their own journeys. In order to ensure players of both franchises that this artful bastion will continue to be held up by people, Wizards of the Coast stated that no AI will be used in the finished product for Magic the Gathering. Unfortunately, AI art is still appearing in promotional images for Magic the Gathering, with players of all kinds calling out Wizards of the Coast for the many questionable elements in recent image. Fans are angry. But artists are making their thoughts known too. One renowned Magic the Gathering artist is walking away from Wizards of the Coast thanks to the mismanagement of this AI situation. Bro, what's going on? Dual Brain is in the house. All right, we're talking about AI generated Magic the Gathering artwork, and apparently some artists have had enough. They've had it up to here. That's it. This topic, I'm going to be putting some thoughts together this morning. Good. Last week, players began calling out Wizards of the Coast for a promotional image that appeared to use AI generation. What do you think of this picture? Like it is, it's almost like no question. You look at it, it's so silly. Like, why would you deny it? If you've used the AI and you've seen any of the art that gets generated by it, there's some telling tales that you can spot quite easily. Like the items that come into focus on some of the AI generated art, it's like everything is in focus, including the front foreground and the background. Look at the gauge. Yes, we're going to look at the gauge here. There's also like some wires in this picture. I studied it quite well. This picture has been going around the internet quite recently. There's a lot of red pen going around the different areas of the photo showing the little nuances and the little artifacts, I think they call it, in the photo, in the picture, that kind of makes it stand out as an AI generated type of art. Well, it's kind of funny because if you think that AI is new, it's just new to the public. Stuff like this has been out in the public, out in the, let's just say, out in the world for probably years. And there's folks that have probably designed AI with a bit of a military background in mind. It's just recently that it's been released to the public. So we're going to see what happens. It should be an interesting couple of years ahead of us to see what happens with AI. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Very sad. Another black eye for Watsy, but they doubled down, right? I'm sorry. So guess what? That makes it okay. All right. Last week, players began calling out Wizards of the Coast for a promotional image that appears to use AI generation, showing off the new retro bordered Shocklands releasing in Ravnica, right? We're going back to Ravnica again. The background elements of the image looked sketchy, to say the least, including a pressure meter that becomes increasingly difficult to discern as you go to the right, a book whose pages seem to blend into one another, and some pipework with some questionably squashed elements. If this wasn't AI generated, the artist's intentions are extremely confusing. Can you take a closer look at the controversial piece here? All right. After many players called out Wizards of the Coast for using AI, I saw this on Twitter. Lots of people um, doubling down over at Wizards of the Coast saying, no, this is authentic. This is real art. It's done by a human. But they doubled down. And then even the community notes on Twitter, from what I understand, flagged this post, this picture. Yes, even the community notes flagged the picture, stating that it is in fact got some elements of AI. You can scrub these, right? You can put them into like an AI detector, and you can scrub the images and see whether or not the computer will tell you if AI was used to create this image. And the community notes on Twitter have definitely not helped the Wizards of the Coast case when it comes to this one. So many players called out Wizards for using AI. They doubled down on their claim, stating that this piece has nothing to do with AI generation. We understand the confusion by fans, given the style being different than the card art, but we stand by our previous statement. This art was created by humans and not AI. Well, if you watch the last video about solidarity, it seems like there's just too many hats being worn over there, right? Just put on another hat. Let's get out there and talk to the public. Throw on another hat. We're gonna make some Twitter posts. Uh, at this point, it's almost laughable because it's beginning to get just so silly. Fans don't really know if they can trust them. I don't think anyone's taking them serious anymore. Fans grew angrier after this statement as multiple bizarre elements in the controversial image have convinced many players that no matter what Wizards of the Coast says, this was AI generated. Even artists seems to be convinced that this image was AI generated with the help of AI, and one artist walks away from Wizards of the Coast altogether. Well, we made a mistake earlier when we said that a marketing image we posted was not created from AI. From AI. Oh, now we made a mistake. Oh, interesting. It gets better. It gets better. Nice. Yes. Sadly, it does matter to some, right? All right. A recent statement from Wizards of the Coast has proven fans' concerns to be true. You can read further on in the statement here. Wizards of the Coast is still continuing to keep Magic AI free despite this recent mistake. All right. So now it looks like a little bit of backtracking, a little bit of backpedaling. At this point in time, I'm pretty sure that everything has been lost. Dave Raposa resigns. And just like that, poof, I'm done working for Wizards of the Coast. You can't say you stand against this and blatantly use AI to promote your products, emails. Sent. Goodbye, you all. David Raposa resigns. Holy smokes. Right? There's just like, there's like, there's a glimmer of hope of solidarity within the Magic the Gathering community. Maybe what's it gonna take? There's gonna be no solidarity between the workers over at Wizards with the layoffs. I'm sure the people who are still working there to just put their heads down and back to work as usual. Don't say anything. Just keep moving forward. Maybe I'll get a promotion. So no solidarity in the workplace, no solidarity up in the upper management. They seem to be flipping and flopping on this one. Maybe we'll get some consumer solidarity or some artist solidarity. Let's see. Dave Raposa being the first one to walk on this. What do you folks think? Leave me a comment in the comment section here this morning while we turn out this article. Perhaps the most shocking reaction to Wizards of the Coast AI drama was from former MTG artist Dave Raposa, credited as Dave Raposa on his many artistic contributions in the game. Dave was one of the many immensely talented Magic artists who created works for the card game. With as many as 67 cards, including some of the art cards achieved on Scryfall featuring his art, Dave Raposa definitely made his impact on the world's biggest trading card game. Magic the Gathering fans, old and new, may have Dave Raposa to thank for some of the beautiful artistic creation on their favorite cards, starting work for Wizards of the Coast back in 2007. So Dave's been with them for quite a long time. Okay. Raposa is responsible for a variety of MTG artworks. For example, Raposa is responsible for an entire scene in the recent best-selling Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth set. The 9-card Isengard Destroyed scene is entirely done by Dave Raposa. That scene includes these full art cards. All right. Saruman of many colors. So Dave Raposa, he's done a lot of stuff, eh? Gunline, Creebane. Interesting. Interesting. Storm of Saruman. Another Dave Raposa art. Looking at some of his art, Nissan of Shadowed Boughs is a beauty. Let's take a look here. Is that one listed here? Nissan of Shadow Bows. We'll take a look at that here this morning, Tom. Thank you for the comment. Pippin's Bravery. It's another piece of Dave Raposa's art. So, no AI used in this one. Fangorn, the Tree Shepherd. Okay, here's a 410 tree folk. Interesting. We'll take a scroll through some of Dave's work here. The last march of the Ents. Not the ants, the Ents. Last march of the Ents. Okay. Other recent works from Raposa include Blank Ferocious Fiend, Zevlor El Turiel Exile, and the full art series of the Zendikar Rising Planeswalker Nissa Shadow Bows. Oh, this one. This is the one you're talking about there, Tom. Tom Mitchell. Thanks for the comment. Nissa of Shadowed Bows. So this is beautiful art by Dave Raposa. All right, so you may know some of this fella's work. Been with the company since 2007. The art of the Zendikar Rising Planeswalker, Nissa the Shadow Bows, Jace the Mirror Mage, and Nahiri, Pair of the Ancients. Finally, Raposa is responsible for the incredible original artwork on Thought Scour. Also, this one here. This is a reprint, isn't it? Could be. All right, let's see comments from Dave on the Twitter. Also, to be clear, I'm quitting because they took a moral stand against AI like a week ago and then did this. If they said they were going to use AI, that's a different story, but they want to grandstand like heroes and also pull this. That's goofball shit I won't support. Some goofball stuff that Dave Raposa can't support. All right. What do you folks think? Further clarifying his decision, Raposa specifically has an issue with the Wizards of the Coast making a strong statement against the use of AI, only to use the AI generated work, even if by accident, in their own promotional art shortly thereafter. If, for example, Wizards of the Coast had simply stated that AI would be used, to some extent, Raposa may not have had an issue. Magic the Gathering players applaud Raposa's decision to stand up to the AI controversy. What do you folks think of this? All right, let's take a look. Leave me a comment in the comment section. Is there going to be other artists that follow suit? Is anybody going to do anything about it? Who's going to stand with Dave Raposa on this one? All right, Raposa asks players not to be too harsh on artists who are not leaving Wizards of the Coast over this controversy. Raposa has stated that he can afford to walk away from Wizards because he has ongoing deals with other clients, freelancing for over 17 years. Other artists may not have this choice and will therefore not be able to afford to make this decision. Will others follow suit? Well, I guess that depends on the solidarity, doesn't it? Is there any solidarity? Is there any solidarity left in Magic the Gathering over at Wizards of the Coast? Hard to say. Full art one, Brody. It's a full art. All right. The statement from Raposa. Will others follow suit? Is there going to be any solidarity left in the world? Let me know. The statement from Raposa suggests that Wizards of the Coast handling of this AI situation could have some serious consequences. If more artists start walking away from Magic the Gathering like Raposa did, who knows what might happen? Is it now up to the artist? No solidarity when you have to pay your mortgage, right? Well, it sounds like Raposa can afford to shove it and stick it to the man because he's got some other deals going with different clients after being a freelancer for 17 years. So maybe some of the other, I don't think the artists actually get paid that much. It's probably hard to live off an artist's salary for doing magic cards. They probably have to have several streams of income. Like one of the folks that I like to follow on Twitter is Hal Haney. So like Hal Haney posts every single day on the Twitter, and he's working on art all the time. He does a lot of wrestling stuff, comic stuff. He does commissions, and a lot of artists try and use Twitter to get their work out there, and they have to do other things. It's amazing how active Hal Haney has to stay. He's been doing actually some some character designs for actual action figures. So that's pretty new news for Hal, and congratulations to you, Hal, for landing that gig. It was nice to see that on Twitter. Staying busy. There's a lot of you got to have a lot of irons in the fire when you're an artist. I'm afraid. So it's a I was watching the 21 Jump Street, the second edition last night with Mrs. Alfonso, and like one of the characters in the movie is an art major, right? And I think the main character, he's like gone back to school undercover, and he's like a poetry major. And they both kind of have a little laugh together, like, so you're not going to make any money with an art major. And ha, 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 ha. It's funny because it's true. I mean, it's really tough to make any money as with an art major doing art. So you got to stay active. You got to have a lot of customers working for the one place like Wizards of the Coast. Probably not going to kind of be pretty tough to make it on an artist salary with only one customer. But it poses the question: will others follow suit? Well, the statement from Raposa says it's hardly the beginning of the AI controversy for Wizards of the Coast. If you want to read more about it, you can find everything you need to know. Here's a link in this article here. Maybe in support to the artist do a top 10 all-time artist video. Like it. Full art one, Brody. For now, though, Wizards of the Coast has redoubled on their promise to keep art in Magic the Gathering human made. We'll be sure to cover that in more depth a little bit shortly. Amy Weaver, number one, just my vote. I like that. I'll give you a thumbs up on that one. Here, Tom Mitchell. Pretty interesting. Pretty interesting. I like it. All right. So the AI Dual Brain says he's got a video coming out. I'll have to keep my eyes open for that to see what is the haps over at the. What's your take on this, Mr. Ed, the Dual Brain? All right, folks. Well, got another interesting article here before we move on to the movers and the shakers. Here, let's talk about the weekly winners, the winningest cards in Magic the Gathering Finance. Art is great. We love art. It's really kind of one of the reasons why we play the game. Adds such a colorful and charismatic, tasteful element to the game of Magic the Gathering. But the finance side of things is another reason to keep an eye on the prices of Magic cards. I'm just going to have a little sip of coffee here with you folks here this morning. These are your weekly winners. Let's have a look. January 4th brings this article. Brody, getting into the car. Will be listening while driving. Have a great day. Thanks, Tom. Glad to have you here. Happy New Year. Welcome to this year's first weekly winners of 2024. The market's slowly picking up pace again after the holidays. And we have some interesting cards lined up to discuss like every week, just in time for F&M. I'll tell you about the Magic the Gathering cards that'll be the talk of the town tonight. Let's discuss this week's price movement. Thank you to Arjun over at the Stock Desk for writing this article for us here. We've got a bit more links in the description below, but on January 1st and 2nd, posting our yearly winners. So we went over in detail on that article just a little bit ago. If you want to review them, you can find those links here. If you want to receive more updates, tune into the morning show with your host, Brody, and we're going to go over some cards. We covered this card a little bit ago, a little big bit ago, and a little bit ago. Sat on a shelf. All right. This week isn't the first time we're going to be discussing for Cursed Totem. It's already spiked a few weeks ago, but for some reason, once again, it's grabbing people's attention and interest. Now this spike has a lot of hallmarks from a targeted buyout. There doesn't seem to be any news that would make Cursed Totem jump in price at this time. Not only that, we're only seeing the prints from Mirage and Classic 6th edition spiking. Of course, the Mirage edition, it's got this is the original art on the Cursed Totem. Pretty great art. 2-mana artifact. Players can't play activation abilities of creatures. All right, the last part. So speculation here. It says this has all the hallmark signs of a targeted buyout. This last part is not that uncommon. When players build a deck, they often try to get cards in the old card frame and preferably in the black border, which would be the Mirage version. In this case, there's also the fact that these two older prints have different art on them than the newer print from Modern Horizons 2, which usually makes it more appealing for a lot of people. There's plenty of reasons why the card Cursed Totem is desirable. Let's first go back to the initial spike a few weeks ago when Wizards put out a statement announcing they would be making a few terminology changes. One of these changes is that Umbra Armor will replace Totem Armor as a keyword ability. So people bought Cursed Totem because they wanted to make sure they have their copies, since Wizards may no longer want to use the word totem on its cards. This effectively means that the card may never be reprinted, at least not under the name. So, okay, Cursed Totem. So now the word totem is like, it's off limits because it's like going to be offensive to some people. We're not using the word totem anymore. Maybe that's why. All right, this could be one of those controversial banned cards. Just simply due to the fact that it's got the word totem on it. All right, we're replacing Totem Armor with Umbra Armor. We looked at Yawgmoth, the Thran Physician, and then the Hardened Scales deck. This is a deck that's been making waves, and which the Cursed Totem helps deal with it. This is the activation that really makes this deck work. The Yawgmoth Thran Physician, you can discard a card to proliferate, and then the Hardened Scales, of course, that's the new version of Affinity where you get to just put counters on stuff and then you get to do it and do it again. So this mechanic is something that folks want to shut down. The Cursed Totem does it. All right, putting all the perceived future scarcity aside, Cursed Totem is generally a good card because it's colorless and it can be added to any type of deck, and it shows it's found in a plethora of modern plethora. Join us for a plethora of modern sideboard staples, and it can be sideboarded against many decks. For example, the Yawgmoth Thran Physician, the Hardened Scales deck, and it can also shut down Agatha's Soul Cauldron combo, which we discussed in the weekly winners last year. All right, Gix, Yawgmoth Praetor. This card's up 74%. Here's a winner. So the Cursed Totem being one of the first weekly winners, and then the Gix Yawgmoth Praetor. This card's actually worth a couple of bucks. It wasn't worth spit when I opened it. I think I have a copy of it. I was kind of like underwhelmed with this card, but now maybe there's some tech coming out. What do we got here? The Gix, the Yawgmoth Praetor, 3/3, black, and 1. Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life if they do draw a card. Now you can pay 4 and 3 black to discard X cards, exile the top X cards of target opponent's library. You may play lands and cast spells from among the exiled cards this way without paying their mana cost, something that lets you play off the top of your opponent's deck. Interesting. This might be a creature ability that you want to shut down with a Cursed Totem. All right, this Phyrexian Praetor from the Brothers' War is moving up, and it seems to be that it's being played in both Standard and Pioneer. More interestingly, it doesn't limit itself to a single archetype. It's played in various builds and mono black, Rakdos, Dimir, and Esper. Gix has quite a bit of text in the box. He sure does. Gix has all kinds of text. Most importantly is the part that's definitely the first bit, right? Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponents, its controller may pay 1 life. If they do, draw a card. So the first bit, um, good in Commander, right? Triggers on attacks, right? Whenever a creature deals combat damage to one of your opponent's controller may pay 1 life. If they do, they draw a card. Like mentioning cards he's play in various builds. So good on a multiplayer game, but all of them have something in common. They're quite aggressive, and they need to be if they want to make Gix work. You may want to play a creature on turn 1 and 2, and then play Gix on turn 3 and make your opponent and make your creatures connect. Here's an interesting card. This is the mono black that his creature base that is seeming to go with the Gix, the Blood Soaked Champion. This one's got raid. You can bounce. It can't block the 2/1. You get a 2/1 for just 1 mana, and then it's got this raid ability, so you can return it from your graveyard to the battlefield. Activate only if you attack with a creature this turn. The champion just keeps coming and coming again and again. What else we got? The Deep Cavern Bat. One flying life leak 1/1 for a black and 1. When going deep in the cavern, the bat enters the battlefield. Look at target opponent's hand. You may exile an online card from it until Deep Cavern Bat enters the battlefield. So it's like Thoughtseize on a bat. And then coming out of the cavern, we got Misery's Shadow from the Brothers' War. 2/2, black and 1. If a creature an opponent controls would die, exile it instead. Okay. So this basically nerfs anything going to the bin. My Misery's Shadow gets 1/1 until end of turn. There's a creature base going with Gix. All right, in Pioneer, we're seeing Gix played with creatures like Bloodsoaked Champion, Deep Cavern Bat. Going deep in the cavern is the Misery's Shadow. And in Standard, we also see similar creatures that want this, achieve this. Regardless of whether you want to play Gix in Standard or Pioneer, if you play Black, it means that you have to play at least 3 copies of Shouldered the Apocalypse. Well, Shouldered's so good. We got an interesting video coming out. I want to share with you folks here. It's called Tech by Deck, right? You folks want to look at Brody's deck? You want to tech my deck? I'm gonna have a video coming out for you folks. I've got a copy of. I can't seem to cut Shoulder. I don't know what I'd cut her for. It's just so darn good. I know it doesn't go in the deck list that you see on MTG Top 8, but the version of the deck I'm playing wants to run Shoulder. It's just so good. Underworld Dreams does 1, Shoulder deals 2, and she also gains you life, which is really good whenever you draw a life. Whenever you draw a card, gain 2 life. So Shouldered really good in Black, especially in a Wheels deck. All right. Let's take a look at the number 3 card, up $12.98, up 76%. That's quite a bump. It's this card here, Skull Clamp. Clamping and stamping its way into the number 3 spot is this card here. Almost skipping it the last time we saw this on our interest because I figured it would just be a random print of this card going up. It had so many reprints as an common, and it could actually imagine there'd be a trend. But being intrigued about why it shot up to above $10, we clicked it anyway and noticed many versions of this card being at least $7. Then we notice almost all versions are moving up. In the chart above, I only included 4 different prints of this card to illustrate the trend, but it's been moving up for most of them. Skull Clamp, it's undeniable that it's a freakishly good card, especially in token decks. Any deck that you want to sacrifice a creature or it has 1/1s. It's even been banned in both Modern and Legacy at one time, and probably for good reason. Its transformation from its overlooked card to a dominant force is a remarkable tale in Magic's history. Aaron Forsyth has shared interest about the Skull Clamp into its development, which ultimately made it one of the game's most powerful equipment cards. Initially a mediocre 3-mana equipment with a 2-mana equip cost, it underwent several adjustments during the game design process, and the final version costing only 1 mana to play and equip, and alternatively, the stats giving a creature +1/-1 turned out to be unexpectedly potent, right? This change, particularly the -1 toughness, proves strategically advantage, allowing players to sacrifice 1/1 creatures for 2 cards at a minimal cost. So anytime you can make tokens, you can make 1/1s, you can make little boys, you can clamp them. This is what goes on to the back of the heads of Wizards of the Coast employees so that they stay at their desk and keep generating the TPS reports. All right, cards that have synergy with the Skull Clamp, of course, the Locust God, and any card that, and the Locust God is going to see some support anytime we get a wheel card, right? Whenever you draw a card, create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature with flying. Wheels matter on the Locust God, right? Maybe you're playing Nikuzar, the Mind Razor, right? Every time you take a card off the library, it deals damage. Then we got Kazla, the Broken Halo. Whenever you cast another spell that has Convoke Scry 2, gives Convoke, and then Kasich Karlov, this 2/4. If a creature dying causes triggers ability of a permanent you control to trigger, that ability triggers an additional time. Creatures you control have vigilance. Creature tokens you control have vigilance and lifelink. So the Tesa Karlov, well, doing some work with the Skull Clamp, right? If you clamp a token with Tesa Karlov on the battlefield, you actually get 2 magic cards. You get to draw 2 spicy cards. All right, let's have a little sip of coffee. Thanks for joining here for you folks just tuning in. This is the best darn Magic the Gathering show in the universe, right? We're talking MTG card prices here this morning with you folks. The weekly winners. We're just going over the cards that are trending. You may want to keep an eye out for. Thanks for tuning in, and thank you all for joining us. See, we got some folks in the chat, so keep it coming. We're gonna try and make a go here this morning. Let's read on about the Skull Clamp, a card that's up over $7 and trending all the way as high as $10 in some formats. A pretty versatile card. All right, do you know a format where Skull Clamp isn't banned? Commander. That's right. And no wonder that it sees quite a bit of play there in decks around strategies that play a lot of 1/1s, or even better, creates expendable 1/1s. Having a Skull Clamp on the battlefield can make sure that you get to draw cards repeatably for 1 mana. Popular commanders that like to play Locust God, Tesa Karlov, and Broken Halo. But there's a long list of decks where it can slot in nicely. Slotting and plotting are way down the list here this morning. Cheap pickups. What do we got here? Intruder Alarm. All right, here's some cards that are reasonably cheap here this morning on the radar from the stock desk, saying that these are cheap pickups. We got this enchantment card. This is quite an interesting enchant. $2.21 and moving up. Oh, intruder. 1 blue and 2. It says creatures don't untap during the controller's untap step. But whenever a creature enters the battlefield, untap all creatures. This is $2 and it has been identified by the stock desk as a premium penny stock and the card to pick up. Has reached its bottom and starting to consistently uptrend. My picks for cheap pickups right now is the Spelunking card as well as the Echoing Deeps. So those are my picks for the cheap pickups at this point in time. Bloodghast. There was a time this card was like over $10. I remember it was played in like the Narcomoeba deck with the what's that ghoul that comes out of the battlefield? Prized Amalgam, right? Shenanigans. They want to come out of the graveyard. We've got Bloodghast. Can't block at 2/1. It has haste as long as an opponent has 10 or less life. Landfall, whenever land enters the battlefield, return Bloodghast from your graveyard to the battlefield. So this ghastly, ghastly vampire spirit comes back from the grave every time a land enters the battlefield. So you mill the ghast into the graveyard, play a land, boom, get the ghastly one back. And then we got the Sword of Fire and War and Peace. SOAP. I mean, the Sword of Fire and Ice call it Soapy, but I guess the Sword of War and Peace he called the SOAP. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, but that's okay. Quick creature gets 2/2 in pro red and white. Whenever a quick creature deals combat with a player, SOAP does Damage to that player equal to the number of cards in their hand, and you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. Equip cost 2. So this one's been sort of trending down and has been identified on the stock desk as a cheap pickup. I like it. I like it. I like it. I like it. Hooray. Buy low, sell high. That's my motto. I may just quit my job at the power plant and become a full-time stock market guy. You know what that sound is, folks? That's the sound of Downtown Brown. Downtown Funky Stuff Malone, bringing you a little bit of Magic the Gathering news, card prices, and that's the sound of your movers and the shakers here this morning, folks. Let's take a look. It's Monday. We're going to do Modern here on Monday, and we're going to take a look at the moviest and the shakiest cards in the game here today. Who else we got? Tom Mitchell, Dual Brain, and my friend Ed over at the Twiddler's Place. Let's take a look at some of these Magic cards here on the movers and the shakers here. It's Monday. Where is everybody? You're stuck at work. Sucks to be you. Sitting behind the desk over the Wizards of the Coast Center, right? Well, if you're working at Wizards of the Coast, maybe today's the day you just like say you've, pack up the desk and say you've had enough. Tell them that you're not going to take it. You're not going to take it anymore. All right, let's look at your movers, your shakers here this morning. What have we got on the modern list? Oh, so modern is Brody's show here. Wander Vine Prophets, Merfolk. I knew it. This is from the Lorwyn block. What is this here? Let's check it out. Wander Vine Prophets, $31. Very expensive. And this Lorwyn foil, I know I've been talking about Lorwyn foils, but holy smoke. This card has taken a bump up in price ever since, where are we at? November last year with Merfolk getting a bump. 6 mana for this 4/4 champion of Merfolk. When it comes to play sacrifice, unless you remove another Merfolk you control from the game. When this leaves play, that card returns to play. Whenever Wondervine Prophet deals combat damage to a player, you may sacrifice a Merfolk if you do take an extra turn. Holy moly! Time walk on a creature. Okay, the Wondervine Prophet seems a little expensive. It'd be nice if it had flash, but this one's coming out at $31. What decks are playing? Hackball, the Surging Soul in Bant, and then Kunema, Tyrant of Orazka. And Nala, Archmage Ritual, Sig River Guide, and Sami, all commander decks playing it. Sure, why not? Look at the price tag. Look at the head on this one. Holy, look at the head on this hose hound. Lloyd? All right. Let's look at the chart on this. It was just last year was just rummaging around the bottom at about $6. Let's take a look. I want to take a look at the foil version this morning. See what that chart looks like. 45er? I always go in paper, right? Stick to paper version. Yeah, it was rummaging around. What? A couple bucks? The foily? 20? $20? Now 46 for the foil version, the Wondervine Prophets. Coming in at the top of the list, the weekly winners. Already you have copies of this. Maybe now is the time. I can't see this lasting, but who knows? Maybe it'll last a little longer. I picked up a couple of lands from the Lorwyn block in foil, the white-blue ones that tap for Merfolk. I think you got to reveal a Merfolk from your hand or it comes into play tap. The Merfolk getting some support in these cards going back all the way to Lorwyn block, getting some support here. What do you got? Lurking Predators? This looks like WotC Staff. Upper Management. 6 mana. 2 green and 4. Whenever an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. This enchant costs you 6 mana. It's a lot of mana. Man, that's a lot of mana, man. If a creature card, if it's a creature, okay, when an opponent casts a spell, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it onto the battlefield. Otherwise, you may put that card on the bottom of your. Lurking in the Winds. This is up 25% to $14. What is this? An M19 card? M20. M10. M10. The Lurking Predators. All right. Let's pull the chart back and see if it's ever been so high. It's never had it so good. That's all Brody wants to do is put lines on charts on this Monday morning with you. All right, kind of just tipping down. Yeah, look at the pickup in this chart here. It's never been so it's never been so good except for this card up to 7, 8, $15. Never all-time high. We could still probably find it at the vendor shop. Yeah, there's one available for $10. What's driving this card? Commander? There's combos, some new tech coming out. Who knows? Here's a card. Oh, the One Ring. Here's a rising tide that moves all boats, right? Every card could use a One Ring. It's sort of like that seems to be that's the way it's going. Like, let's make artifacts that just go in any deck. This card's so darn good. I don't have a copy of it. $70 for the One Ring. I want to take a look at this. You get the 4-mana One Ring. For those of you who don't know what the One Ring does, I'm sure everyone does, but this is a 4-mana indestructible artifact. It can be countered, though. You got to counter the One Ring if people are playing it. It's played at all kinds of formats. The interesting thing is like you get protection for everything if you cast it from your hand until your next turn. So just basically, you can't be killed. It's pretty good. And at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on the One Ring. You tap it, you put a burden counter on it, and then draw a card for each burden counter on the One Ring. I really don't have one of these. I wish I had actually opened some Tales of Middle Earth, but I was sort of in protest. I didn't know how good the set was going to be and what the chase cards are, but the One Ring seems really good. Well, what do we got here? It was $93 just after release. This one's been sort of trending down and holding steady about the $55 to $65 mark, and it's moving up just a little bit. I can believe it. When does the One Ring get a reprint? Right? Probably ever. I mean, unless they go back to the Lord of the Rings set, I can't see the One Ring getting a reprint until that time. But while it's in print, maybe it's a good idea to get yourself a copy. I don't have one yet. I haven't acquired a copy of the One Ring just yet. Look at all the decks playing it. Modern. Got Amulet Titan, Mono Green Tron, 4 and 5 color Almath, Mono Black Coffers, and Mono Black Coffers. Yes, Coffers and Coffers. And of course, Paradoxical Outcome, of course, and like the vintage decks. It was the same thing when Bolas Citadel was hot, right? And then Coveted Jewel, and now it seems like the One Ring is now the artifact of choice. The Paradoxical Outcome deck. This is sort of like what I like to play in vintage. You got the Metamorph, another card. This is another card that's just actually finally seeing some love. I did sell out of the Metamorphs a little while ago, but I kept a play set. I'm glad I did. The Paradoxical Outcome deck or the vintage brew is probably going to play a copy of the Cyberdrive Awakener in here. Where's the creatures? No creatures. Oh yeah, there's the Coveted Jewel there. I like to see a copy of the Cyberdrive Awakener. 4 copies of the One Ring and 4 copies of Coveted Jewel. 3 copies of Coveted Jewel and the Mike Stone and the Meek Stone. Grim Monolith, Time Vault, and Trinisphere. Well, you can definitely tap some stuff with the One Ring coming in at $70, going in all kinds of decks, modern, vintage, legacy, Doomsday playing it. I see, I don't know, everywhere I go, people are playing it. It's like an auto include in every deck. It doesn't have a downside. It really doesn't. In Commander, you can really make it go a long way because the burden is not that big of a deal when you're starting with 40 life. Hellish Norn, Grand Cenobite. What do we got here? 7 mana for a 4/7. This one's up to $16. What kind of chart is it? Just a little poke up, right? Nothing to get excited with. It is down off its all-time highs from $50. Kind of tanked down a little bit there, surprisingly enough. There was new. Was there? Is this the one that we got the new versions from March of the Machine? The Modern Masters, Economy Masters. No, the Grand Cenobite. No one cares. All right, other creatures you control get 2/2, and creatures your opponent controls get -1/-1. 7 mana for this 4/7. Pretty good. Can sort of just derp weenie decks all together. Another card to keep an eye out. Shitzo. Death Storehouse. Legendary land from Kamigawa block. I'm going to enjoy this. Cool cards here on the modern list. I really like to see it. It's Monday, right? Happy Monday. Tap for a black, and then a black and tap it. Target legendary creature gains fear until end of turn. What's up? What's cracking in? My man. Over the cracking in game. What's Shitsu Death's Storehouse? This card's the Shitsu. Legendary matters. I think this will probably see some waves. Like, I would say this is a good pickup right now. $13. If you can find it for a little cheaper, I wonder what the foil version. Shizu was up to about $44, and then like looking at the foil version, $90 for the foil version of Kamigawa original. Target creature gains fear. Well, if you don't know what fear is, it can only be blocked by black and artifact creature. Target legendary creature gains fear until end of turn. So really good in Commander, especially in the Legendaries Matter build. You got a buddy T Freezy. He's going to be playing a Legendaries Matter. So this definitely good in Commander, can give your commander fear and then make it really hard to block and can swing in for that sweet, sweet commander damage, right? All the decks playing it. Eureka, the Tiger's Shadow, Dahada, Bender of Wills, and then Skullbriar, the Walking Grave, Glim, Comedic Genius, Lathril, Blade of Elves, Captain Nagathrod, and others for this legendary. It's not it is a legendary land. So that's legendary again. Legendary rule matters. We like it. Legendary matters. And the Crater Hoof. Here's another card I don't own. I'm not buying the Crater Hoof. No way, no how. There's definitely a few different art versions of this card, but the Secret Lair looking hilarious. And there's also the kids drawing here that they put on the card. $30 for a Crater Hoof. Many a game have been lost to the hoofer, this sucker. Here, hoofing and cratering and hoofing. The 5/5 haste says when he enters the battlefield, control get trample in X until end of turn, where X is the number of creatures you control. He's 8 mana beast. The Crater Hoof. I think we were looking at this just before the new year, maybe a couple of months, just a couple of months ago, was cited as a cheap pickup. And I can see why. You look at the chart on this sucker, the Behemoth has sort of been moving down over the last little while. It was up to about $80 in Strixhaven, and then it's sort of just been kind of trending softly. Trending me softly with his hoof. Trending me softly with his hoof. Crater me all right. The Crater Hoof trending softly down and is now seeing a little bit of a bump up in price. It was as much as $80. Yeah, I'd say maybe now's the time to pick one of these up. It's settling. Seen a few reprints. I wouldn't mind opening one. And Seedborn Muse, here's a card that I think it went and got itself banned. It's just so darn good. $17.49. I don't know how Prophet of Prufix is banned, but this card isn't. Untap all permanents you control during either other player's untap step. Commander, legal, right? Prophet of Prufix. Let's take a look. Untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step. And then this says untap all creatures and lands you control during each player's untap step. You may cast creature spells as though they have flash. Prophet of Crufix, of course, you look at this, you're like, that's my commander. But it can't be because it's banned. But this one says untap all permanents you control during each player's untap step, not banned. So I tell me why, I don't know. Maybe just because the other one is, it could be your commander because it's legendary. How many versions of this have we seen? Legion's foil is $200. Holy smokes. Legion's Commander 19, Commander Collection Battle Bond, 9th edition, 10th edition. Plenty of cards, plenty of printings of the card. Was as much as 30 bucks by the looks of it, 25 to 30 bucks for the Seedborn Muse. Omnath, Locus of Mana, Kidden, Bonder Prodigy, Lathril, Braid of Elves, and Kenrith, the Return King, also play in the Seedborn Muse. Pretty powerful card, especially Commander. Let's not fool ourselves. This is like a Commander card that's made its way on to the Modern list because it's Modern legal. Of course it is. Sword of Truth and Justice. So, Sotaj. We got the Sophie, the Sowat, and the Sotaj, right? Truth and Justice. Here's a card that, like, this card, nobody wants truth and justice in this day and age. There's nothing going on in the world that a little truth and justice can't solve, right? Let's take this into the WotC headquarters and ask them, is this AI generated? Give us a little truth behind that. When a quick creature deals damage to a player, you get a 1/1 counter on a creature control, then you get to proliferate, and then you get the pro blue and the pro white with this one. How's this card doing? Trending down from the $40 mark? Yeah, softening. It's softening. It seems like all the swords are coming down in price. Just a little bit. Except for the most popular one. This one here, seeing a little bit of... and then Auric Champion. Is this the one where they think... It is! Look at this. This is a Raver card, right? 2 mana. And then it's got these... Have you seen people walking around with these little hats on, right? These little bear hats? It looks almost like a furry hat, right? That you would see somebody going to like a... This is all I hear when I see this card. It's Raver Chick, right? Pretty cool card. 2 white for this one. Pro red and pro black. Whenever another creature comes into play, you gain a life. This is from 5th Dawn. What's the foil version? Sucker. $11, $55. See, there's done well to hold on to some older foils. It was as much as $80 in and around Strixhaven and the Modern Horizons 2 release. That seems incredible. Look at this. Look at this. That's it's quite a spike. I want to just take a look. Let's take a look at the foil version for a second here. I want to see what the chart looks like on that one. Foil version for 5th Dawn. Just out of interest. Let's take a look. How much was that in Strixhaven? $200? Hey, caramba. This is making me scream. Quite a card, eh? $200 to gain some life. Seems really powerful. The Aura Champion coming in at number 9 off the list of the Modern here. And Polluted Bonds. What have we got here? A Shadowmoor. I love it. I love to see Shadowmoor foils on this list here. Whenever land enters the battlefield under an opponent's control, that player loses 2 and gain 2. 5 mana enchant. It's an enchantment card. It costs you 5 mana. $35 for the foil. Let's take a look at the chart on this one, Lloyd. Let's take a look at the fun bags on this one, Lloyd. All right. $50 for the Polluted Bonds in and around Strixhaven. The foil version's probably more, but let's not fool ourselves. It's definitely a commander card that's made its way onto the Modern list. Who's playing it? Lisa, Shroud of Dust. Mogi's God of Slaughter, Shouldered the Apocalypse. There she bloweth. Allura, Ageless Aesthetic, and Tegra, the God of Fright, Flight, and Fight or Flight. God of Fright. Huh. Those are your movers and your shakers here this morning. That's it. The coffee's empty. The show has got to... We got to bring it to a close. The coffee's empty. This is terrible. Thanks for joining me, folks, friends of the channel. Those of you for tuning in around the world. Do you like tracking the prices of Magic cards? Let me do it for you. I'm doing it here on the morning show. If you can get it, It's Brody Alfonso talking Magic stocks and doing a little bit of Magic talks, doing some news articles here and seeing what's going on in the world. Folks, are you walking off the job today over at Wizards of the Coast because of the outrage in AI generation, the artwork? Applauding off on people. All right, but if you like tracking the prices of Magic cards, you can do it here with me. But if you don't like it, let me do it for you. Doing it here on the morning show. Appreciate you all for tuning in. I hear that. The cops are at the Pinkerton. They're onto them. Gonna have to shut her down. Wherever you are, it's Monday. Bring a friend to Magic the Gathering. And if you can't, bring a friend to Magic. Bring a friend to Brody. We'll talk to you folks on the next one. And keep an eye out for my deck. Keep an eye out for my deck, because I might ask you folks to check it. All right. We'll talk to you soon.